Why does PvP in Star Citizen feel pointless and PvE feel like a gamble? That question right there, it's tearing the community apart in some ways. One side wants challenge and high-stakes combat. The other wants to focus on missions, trading, and survival without being someone else's content. And yet neither side is actually getting what they want. PvP players are left chasing ships with nothing in them. PvE players feel like they're just waiting to get ganked. And worst of all, there's no system in place to reward either one. The result? Griefing replaces gameplay. Tension is replaced by frustration. And Star Citizen starts to feel less like a living universe and more like a lawless sandbox with no rules. But what if there was a better way? A system where PvP and PvE could both thrive without stepping on each other. Look, this isn't about picking sides. PvE players want safety, places where they can run missions, explore, and make progress without being someone else's target practice. PvP players, they want risk, they want payoff, they want combat that means something. But right now, Star Citizen doesn't support either playstyle properly. There are no structured PvP systems that reward skill, reputation, or control of territory. It's just chaos. Everyone thrown into the same pool with no clear boundaries, no rules of engagement, and no reason to care about the outcome. And when systems fail to support players, the only thing left is frustration and eventually toxicity. But what if we could fix that? Not by nerfing one side, but by giving both a reason to exist, a way to thrive, and maybe, just maybe, a reason to respect each other. The truth is, Star Citizen doesn't have a PvP or a PvE problem. It has a systems problem. Because right now, there's no structure, no framework, and no direction. PvE players have no dedicated spaces to engage with the game's missions or economy without worrying about being ambushed. And PvP players, they don't have objectives. They don't have incentives. There's no leaderboard, no territory control, no meaningful reward for engaging in combat. So what happens? PvE players feel like every trip is a gamble. PvP players get bored, and in the worst cases, turn to griefing just to create some kind of engagement. Not because they're inherently toxic, but because the game doesn't give them a better option. And the problem runs deeper. There's no instancing, no separation of purpose. Everyone's thrown into the same unfiltered sandbox. You've got cargo haulers, role players, pirates, bounty hunters, miners, salvagers, and combat veterans, all operating under the same exact conditions, with no guardrails and no consequences. Pirates don't get punished. Traders, miners, and salvagers don't get protected. And bounty hunters? Half the time, they can't even collect on kills that should have meant something. There's no risk versus reward curve, no high security zones that actually feel secure. No lawless zones that meaningfully encourage conflict. Just Pyro's chaos. And to top it off, basic systems that could be functioning, like landing zone security checkpoints, are just set dressing. They don't do anything. You can walk right through with a criminal record and nobody cares. It all just feels disconnected. This isn't how you build conflict. This is how you build resentment. And if CIG doesn't address this before the game scales up further, we're not going to have an engaging, living universe. We're just going to have a sandbox full of people trying to avoid each other. But it can be fixed. If we build around choice, risk, and consequence, we can create a system where both PvP and PvE players get the experience they came for. Now, if you're enjoying this breakdown and want more grounded, no-nonsense Star Citizen content that cuts through the noise, consider subscribing. We do deep dives like this every week. And if you made it this far, chances are this is the kind of content you're looking for. So how do we fix this? We don't need to swing the pendulum one way or the other. We need to build a system where both playstyles, PvE and PvP, have room to breathe. And to do that, we focus on 3 core pillars: structured risk zones, mission-based PvP, and meaningful consequences. This starts with letting players choose their danger. We need to move beyond the one-size-fits-all sandbox. PvE and PvP need their own spaces, and they need to reflect the identity of the system you're in. In high-security systems like Terra, Stanton, and Castra, PvE content should take center stage. These areas should support more instance PvE missions, safer trading lanes, and rich cooperative gameplay without the constant threat of random interference. And thankfully, we might be starting to see that shift. In Alpha 4.3, CIG is introducing massive abandoned underground facilities which are multi-level and entirely focused on cooperative PvE gameplay. These facilities will feature separate wings, branching challenges, environmental hazards, and room for team-based exploration. And while CIG hasn't confirmed it yet, it's entirely possible that these areas could be instanced, finally giving PvE players the space they've been asking for. Now, this is a huge step in the right direction, but until we see it in game, all we can do is hope that it's the start of something larger. Now, over in lawless systems like Pyro and Nyx, we flip the model. Open PvP becomes the default. Faction control, piracy, sabotage, and interception missions should all live here. But even in those systems, PvE players should still have opportunities, whether that's mining, smuggling, or high-risk salvage runs. The key is identity. Each system leans into its theme, but still offers content for both playstyles. And none of that works effectively without instancing. Instance PvE areas give mission runners a reliable space to explore and complete objectives without unwanted interference. Instance PvP zones like faction war zones or salvage sites flag players for combat and create contained, meaningful conflict. This gives players control over how they engage and, more importantly, why they engage. Now, 4.2.1 did reintroduce security forces to Stanton, and while that's great to see, they're still not nearly as strong enough to pressure aggressive players out of the system. We haven't seen AI interdictions that make pirates sweat. We haven't seen a security net that keeps repeat offenders in check. And then there's reputation. CIG originally said that reputation would matter in 4.0, especially in Pyro. That high rep with outlaw gangs like the Rough and Ready or the Headhunters could restrict players or even block hostile players from using certain jump points. That still hasn't happened. Now, it's possible they're holding back for a larger update, maybe tying it into future systems like transient jump points, updated player beacons, or a more robust faction economy. But a lot of us would rather see the bones of that system now, even in a rough state, so we can understand where CIG is taking it, test it ourselves, and build feedback from experience. Because until we have that structure in place, it's still chaos. Next, we need to give PvP players a reason to fight. Right now, if you're looking for combat, your best bet is to camp a trade route and hope someone shows up, or sit and wait at a settlement. That's not gameplay, that's just a waiting game. What we need are structured PvP loops that are opt-in, profitable, and grounded in gameplay, not frustration. Let players post escort contracts where they can hire other players to protect them during long runs or risky missions. Add interception missions for bounty hunters and pirates based on real-time player activity. If someone's running cargo in a PvP area, let a contract spawn that tracks them. Introduce faction warfare. Let players pledge to the Headhunters, the CDF, corporations in Stanton, or other outlaw gangs in Pyro. And then give them actual missions, bounties, sabotage, recon, and raids, tied to those allegiances. And when a ship gets stolen, that should automatically generate a recovery contract. Maybe it's a tracker mission, maybe it's a bounty hunt. Either way, it ties the event to a player-driven objective. This creates purpose-driven conflict. No more random griefing. No more, I was bored, so I shot someone. Instead, clear intent, real consequences, and actual reasons to fight. And finally, none of this works if there's no weight behind your actions. Because if you can attack whoever you want, wherever you want, with zero consequences, then why wouldn't someone troll? So let's fix that. First, get rid of armistice zones and replace them with real security systems. Those security checkpoints at landing zones, use them. If you have high reputation with microtech, you should be allowed to carry weapons through the terminal and use them if need be. This would allow bounty hunters to find outlaws and claim their bounty. If you're a known criminal, you should be stopped, scanned, and even arrested before you make it to the elevator. It's a simple shift from invisible rules to visible enforcement. Make reputation mean something. Hostile players should lose access to key services in lawful zones. Security AI should interdict them more frequently. Vendors should refuse to serve them unless they're in outlaw-friendly hubs like Grimhex, planets and stations on Pyro, or even possible settlements on certain moons in Stanton. And when it comes to stolen ships, recovery systems should kick in. The longer the thief holds on to the ship, the more valuable their bounty. If another player recovers it or tows it back, they get a bonus. If it's destroyed, the trail goes cold and the original owner has to file a claim, pay the premium, and wait through the timer to get their ship back. All of this ties together. Your choices matter. Your reputation defines your access. And the game world starts to feel alive, not arbitrary. Because when you punish mindless aggression, but reward smart, purposeful conflict, you don't kill PvP. You elevate it. Now, this isn't about punishing PvP, and it's not about shielding PvE behind walls either. It's about giving every type of person a reason to care and a reason to respect the universe they're a part of. PvP should feel dangerous, engaging, and profitable. There should be territory to fight over, missions to intercept, and reputations to build or destroy. PvE should feel engaging, immersive, and consistent. Whether you're mining, hauling, exploring, or running missions, you should know what risks you're taking and be rewarded for navigating them intelligently. When systems like instancing, risk zoning, reputation, and security enforcement are all working together, you don't just create balance, you create identity. Suddenly, pirates aren't griefers or mindless murder hobos. They're feared operators with reputation and consequences. Traders, miners, and salvagers aren't easy targets. They're mission-focused players who have options to fight back, hire protection, or just engage in their activity in a relaxed environment. Bounty hunters become actual hunters. Smugglers become calculated. And factions begin to mean something. And most importantly, the universe starts to feel alive. Not because players are restrained, but because their choices finally have weight. This isn't about nerfing anyone, it's about structure. And structure is how Star Citizen evolves from a chaotic sandbox into an actual living, breathing world. So here's the bottom line. PvP thrives when it has structure, incentives, and purpose. PvE thrives when it has safety, clarity, and progression. And Star Citizen only thrives when both are given room to exist, without one stepping all over the other. Structured risk zones give players the power to choose their level of danger. Mission-based PvP makes combat meaningful, not mindless. And real consequences like reputation, security, and recovery systems give weight to every decision that you make. Now, we're already starting to see glimpses of this. The new abandoned underground facilities in 4.3 are a huge step forward for PvE. Security forces are returning, cooperative zones are coming online, but we're not quite there yet. We need stronger enforcement. We need reputation systems that matter. And we need CIG to show what their long-term vision for PvP and PvE actually looks like. Not in theory, but in practice. Because until that happens, players are just going to keep colliding in a system that doesn't respect either side. But the fix It's already on the table. So what do you think? Would systems like these make you more excited to take risks, or finally give you the freedom to explore without looking over your shoulder? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to hear from both sides, PvP and PvE. Because if this game's ever going to strike the right balance, it starts with real feedback from the people playing it. And if you want to help shape the direction of future videos like this, consider becoming a channel member. Members get access to exclusive channels in my Discord, early access to videos before they drop, and the chance to directly vote on and influence what topics we cover next. Your support helps keep these videos going and helps keep the conversation honest. And if you haven't seen it yet, check out my last video on how Star Citizen could learn a thing or two from Dune, and why crafting and base building might just be what pushes this game to the next level. As always, thanks for watching. Fly safe, pilots, and I'll see you in the verse. Havoc out.